Today we're looking at rates, and rates are very similar to ratios. However, rates are a ratio that compares two quantities with different units of measure. So if you remember from our ratio video, we had to make sure that the two quantities that we were comparing had to be in the same units. Whereas for rates, you can compare two different quantities, but they can be completely different units of measure. So some that you would know would be, for example, kilometres per hour, and that's written like this. So the per is actually written as a dash. Or beats per minute on how we sometimes measure heart rate. So it's written by beats dash minutes. So there's a few steps that we need to follow. The first is to write as a fraction. Then we need to divide the numerator by the denominator, and then write in the units and check if it's reasonable. If it seems like a realistic amount, then you've done it correctly. One thing to remember is that money, so whenever we have quantities where money is involved, that is always written as the numerator or the top number of the fraction. Let's go through some examples. So the first one says that 32 customers in 4 checkout lanes. So what they want us to do is write it in the form of customers per lane. So remember, the first step is to write as a fraction, then divide, and then write in the units. So the first thing is to write it as a fraction. So 32 divided by 4. And so the units is, customers per lane. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to divide that, and you can put that in your calculator, or if you know your 4 times tables, 32 divided by 4 is 8. So the rate at which this particular shop gets through customers is 8 customers per lane. Let's do another example. It says a car travels at 820 kilometres in 8 hours. So we want a rate that's written in kilometres per hour, because we want to know how much it's going to travel per hour. So remember, the first thing is to write it as a fraction, and then we write kilometres per hour. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to divide that in our calculator. So 820 divided by 8, which should give us 102.5 kilometres per hour. And that is also referred to as speed. So with rates, the first step is to write it as a fraction. The second step is to divide it. And then the third step is to make sure you've got your units and check that it is realistic. So 102 kilometres per hour, you can kind of see it as 8 and 8. Yep, that sounds about right. And here, 8 customers per lane, that sounds right. Because as you can see, it's not more than the original 32 customers. So 1, write as a fraction. 2, divide those amounts. And 3, make sure you write kilometres per hour. And lastly, don't forget that if there's money in the question, that is always written as the numerator in that fraction that you're going to divide.